Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Friday Live, where I am coming to you live both on YouTube and Facebook on this Friday, the 9th of August, 2024. As always, I'll just give the feed a bit of time to filter through so people know that I'm here. Fiona Lukeis, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Fiona Lukeis, and I go live here every Friday at around about this time just to answer any questions that you have. This is a Q&A designed to answer any questions that you may have. A number of you have sent questions in, so I will come to those in a moment. But as always, if you are listening, please feel free to say hi and let me know where you're listening from. And if you have a question, pop it in the comments below and I will do my absolute best to answer it for you. I will say, as I always do, I'm going to talk about the weather. It is beautiful here today. It's one of those picture perfect blue days with no wind. It's just gorgeous. So it's a beautiful Friday here. I can definitely feel the weather turning, although we're still in the middle of winter. I can definitely feel spring just kind of coming around the corner, which is always a beautiful feeling. Spring is my favorite time of the year. I love spring. I love watching Mother Nature just, it's just so beautiful where you see flowers just burst out of nowhere and animals shedding coats and everything adjusting for the next season. To me, it's just another beautiful example of the intelligence behind life that knows exactly what it's doing and has got everything covered. To me, a change of season is a great reminder of that. And I think, it's this conversation I have a lot with my students and my clients. When we have faith and trust in something bigger than us, life feels a lot calmer. We become a lot better at handing things over rather than carrying them in our minds and then ruminating and going around and around and around in our heads and getting really stuck. I see that with so many people that I speak to. But, when you have faith and trust in something bigger than you, whatever word you want to put on that, life feels a lot easier for our human. And it's a very comforting feeling. And to me, a change of season is a great example of that, reminder of that, just that nature knows exactly what it's doing. The intelligence behind life knows exactly what it's doing, and everything is naturally adjusting to the next seasonal change. This is exactly what happens with human beings. It's just something that we don't talk about enough. And I think a very important thing for people to understand, because when we do, we're not so defensive. We don't overthink things the same way. We have a lot more faith and trust in many, many, many things. And this is good for our soul, good for our relationships, good for our emotions, good for the planet, good for humanity, right? Spreads out everywhere. So, seeing a change of season to me is something I find beautiful, amazing, and at the same time, really comforting. So I can see a few people are starting to join us. So as always, say hi, let me know where you're listening from, and if you have a question or comment, pop it down below. I'm going to just come check in on the questions that have been sent in to me. I'll do that in a moment. As always on these live Q&As, I am drawing on and sharing with you some of the things that I've seen whether it be with my relatable students, because we do 2 live calls a week and have the most incredible, profound conversations. Actually, Wednesday's call was amazing. We ended up having a deep dive around wisdom and how that plays out in our lives. Hi, Carmel. Thanks for saying hi. You're in Auckland. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And Jane, you're also in New Zealand. Methven, Chile, where you are. Oh, it's actually really lovely here, which is very exciting. Thanks for saying hi, guys, and anyone else who wants to do that. Now, I'm going to bring up the questions that have been sent through. As always, if you have a question, post it below. All right, so today's questions. All right. Sorry, let me bring those up. All right, where's our next? Okay, next question. All right. Okay, now we've answered those. So this is the next one. Dear Fiona, I saw your Facebook ad pop up on Facebook for your ebook. I felt a bit triggered at first because I thought it's not that simple. Thank you for admitting that. What about if you're in a relationship with an addict, or specifically in my case, if it was my husband, who I believe is an alcoholic? Um, I then looked at your Facebook page, watched your video call recorded on the 12th of July, and I really warmed to you, and lots of what you said made sense. I already left my husband. I separated from him nearly 3 years ago. He was not abusive. He loved me, but his addiction was really affecting him and exacerbating any negative traits within him, and was having a detrimental effect on our relationship and dragging me down. It took me a long time to get to the point to decide to leave, with support from a very good coach in therapy in previous years, to understand myself. Um, okay, I bought my own home, feel more at peace, but I'm finding it really hard to let go. All my overthinking about whether I did the right thing and living in the past is really holding me back and moving forward, as I feel so flat inside. I even met a new guy who is very kind, but I've realized I don't feel physical chemistry with him. It's one of the reasons I moved away, to put physical distance between myself and those relationships. I guess my question is, do you think sometimes you just have to walk away, and that maybe not every relationship can be fixed? Because now I'm thinking perhaps I didn't do enough to try to save my marriage. I just wonder if you cover this issue in any of your education. Yes, I do. Even writing these words is making me feel emotional. As you mentioned in your call, like many people, I really just want peace, but I also need connection. Also, I hope you don't mind me asking, you mentioned leaving an abusive partner, so I'm guessing that your current husband of 20 years with whom you're now happy is not that same relationship. No, it is not. Again, I'm just trying to understand if sometimes you can't fix every relationship. Okay, beautiful. Great question. And look, I think this is actually a really great question for a number of reasons. I think anything is possible, but it doesn't mean it should. Okay. And I'm going to come back to what I was just talking about wisdom before. You might be able to change something, but it doesn't mean you should. Does that make sense? The most important thing for all of you, and this is why I really did a deep dive on this on our relatable call, because I have a few new students starting, and I really wanted to talk about wisdom. So I'm going to talk about as much as I can here. It's a little bit harder for me to go as deep dive into it without the understanding, but I'll do my best. You know, to me, this is more of a question around, can every relationship be fixed? No, nor should every relationship be fixed. Okay. Definitely, for some of you who know, I left an abusive relationship many years ago, when my boys were very young. I had two toddlers. They were basically 2 and 4, and I've leaving that relationship is absolutely a decision I've never for 1 second regretted, and was absolutely the right thing to do. And in fact, it's one of the reasons why I now do the work that I do, because the help I went to get at the time was so poor. I felt so let down by the system. I really felt like there needed to be more done. And so I made it my mission to find a better way. And I truly believe all of these years later, I have absolutely found that. I've not left a stone unturned in finding that. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts I have. But I would never have gone back, even knowing what I know now, to try and fix that relationship. Okay. And one of the reasons for that is because one of the reasons I know why I was even a match for that kind of person, why that person even came into my life, was because I didn't have a great relationship with myself. I was very tuned out of my own I was very tuned out of my own wisdom of I didn't have a strong relationship with myself. Does that make sense? And so when you don't, and I have to say, I've met many people this week who don't. That has definitely been a theme of the week, where people are very tuned out to themselves. They're tuned into everything that's happening in the world, all the people around them, but they're very tuned out to themselves. And so when you're tuned out to yourself, it becomes much. If you find yourself in situations that are not honoring of who you are, you find it very difficult to have your own sovereignty. And sovereignty is a very important thing for someone to have in their life, right? Sovereignty is something where if someone is disagreeing with you, you have the strength of character in yourself and the connection with yourself to be okay with the fact that you're going to go down this pathway and someone else is going to go down that pathway, or someone else's opinion is you should do this, but you choose to do that. And you don't have all the thinking around it. You have this clarity. That's what sovereignty brings you. It's like, I know what's right for me. It's time for me. Actually, one of my relatable students used a really great example of this on our call on Wednesday, because we were talking about wisdom. And she said, I've got a really good example of that, of being tuned in. And she was saying, when I left my a marriage that she'd been very unhappy in for a long time, she said, I said to sometime after leaving that, I'm going to change my name back to my maiden name. And one of her sons said to her, I think it's a bit too soon, Mum. And she said, not for me. And she said, Fiona, I was so clear. I didn't have any more thinking around it. I had such clarity that this was the right thing for me. And she was sort of saying, prior to this understanding and everything she'd learned, if my son had said that to me, I would have just gone, oh, maybe he's right. It is soon. Oh, if he's not happy, maybe I should just wait. I don't know if this is a good idea for me. And then all the thinking, comes in. And then you just bounce around in your head, never finding a place to land, which is what clarity gives you. And then a sense of conviction. It's just bounce because you start thinking about all the things. And this is what I see people do. But when you have a very strong sense of self and are very tuned in, you do what's right for you. So I find a lot of people trying to fix a relationship where their wisdom is telling them something completely different. And so they're trying to fix something that is not in their best interest to sort out. And so this is a question of how tuned in you are and what you're listening to. See, the space that you listen to life from is very, 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 very important. So some people listen to life from the space of what everyone else thinks and not wanting to upset anybody. So they're listening through that lens. And so then, of course, they don't have a strong sense of self. They tie themselves inside out up in knots. They get very resentful because they don't feel heard or understood or respected or any of those things. Okay. And they often find themselves in relationships where they overfunction and the other person underfunctions. So it's very, very important that you develop that relationship. It is, I cannot tell you how important it is. To me, when I left that relationship all those years ago, I realized the reason I was a match, I'm not saying it's my fault that for his behavior, absolutely not. But the reason why I was even a match for someone like that to be in my life was because I was so out of touch with myself. And that's the thing that I focused on and changed. And so, when I talk about the relationship, just in response to this lady's question, I'm not talking about my relationship with my husband. This is a relationship I left long before that. So not every relationship should be or is meant to be fixed, but it can be very simple when you have clarity, right? It can be very, very simple when you have clarity, you're comfortable in your own skin and you're in touch with yourself, because clarity cuts through mental noise like a hot knife through butter. So even if your friends are saying to you, I think you should stay, and you're like, no, I want to go, then you will just go because you know that's what's right for you. It doesn't matter what everyone else says. And the opposite can be true, because I have some people that will come to me and say, I found out my wife or my husband has had an affair, or my partner has had an affair. My friends all think I should leave, but I really want to work it out. But I'm really struggling with the fact that, my parents' friends are all saying, you need to leave. And of course, as we start talking about, the only thing that matters is whatever your own truth is. But I think a lot of people have got so much mental noise, they don't know what that is. And so they're not tuned in, they're very tuned out. And I think this is very, very important if you want a sense of well-being, clarity, joy, peace. This is something you need to be very tuned into. Okay, it's what enables you to live a life you love, that's honoring of who you are, and when you come from a place of sovereignty. And the amazing thing is that when you do that, people don't question you. okay? Because it's like they can feel the groundedness in your energy, the solidness in your energy. And so whether they agree with it or not, they go, okay. It's like this lady sharing on the call on Wednesday night when I said to my son, it's not too soon for me to change my name. There was no other questioning about that. It's like, okay, got it. Because clarity creates conviction and a sense of solidness and groundness in ourselves. And when you bring that, people don't question you. It's quite amazing. And so you go and you keep living and making decisions that are true for you. So of course, there are times when we need to walk away. Of course, if you're in a situation where you don't feel safe, where someone is not respecting you, not listening, or maybe you've got someone like for this lady whose partner is an alcoholic or dealing with an addiction. And there are many people I've worked with who are in relationships with people who have an addiction. And that's, I'm not saying every relationship with an addiction needs to end or every relationship with an addiction needs to be saved or changed, but one of the baselines for staying would be that the other person recognizes that they have a problem, right? They recognize they have a problem and they're prepared to do something about it. Because until someone gets to that point, the behavior will not change. And so then you have to ask yourself, okay, if you're in a relationship with someone who has an addiction and they're not prepared to acknowledge that, there's no ownership, there's no acknowledgement, and there's no conversation, then you have to ask yourself, because so many people, and I've seen that this week, are in relationships with someone based on the possibility of what that person may become or the possibility of how that person may change, right? That has definitely been a theme this week. You cannot be in a relationship with the possibility of something. You are in a relationship with what's in the here and now, okay? I was speaking to someone earlier this week who's been in a verbally abusive relationship, a very explosive person for the better part of, 15, 16 years. And I said, what is it that keeps you there? And they said, the hope that they may change, right? And I said, look, that's all well and good, but where you are right now is where you are right now. That's the relationship you're in. You're in a relationship that's this, someone who is explosive, someone who is not doing anything about that, someone who does not respect your boundaries. That's the relationship you're in. I know you keep living out of the hope of what may change, but this is where you are. So you need to make a decision about what you want based on where the relationship is right now, not on what it may become. Okay. Now, for some of you might look at where the relationship is right now, have clarity and say, no, I want to be here. Some of you that might be your wake up call to go, hang on, the relationship I'm in right now is not what I want. And then it's about listening to that and honoring that. And I think people get very stuck because this is where overthinking is such an issue and it clouds our minds and it takes away clarity. Okay. So no, not every relationship can be fixed, nor should it be. But it can still be simple in terms of when you have clarity, everything becomes simplified, okay? Because we're not operating from a place of fear. We're operating from a place of being tuned in, trusting in life, and then choosing the next step. I'm a very big believer and this is what I've seen it play out in my own life again and again and again, that when you honor you, the universe or life will meet you there. I'm not saying it won't be hard. I'm not saying it won't be difficult. I mean, when I left all those years ago, I went through some of the toughest times of my life, but I would never change a single thing. Never. It was still 100% the right thing for me to do. So I really hope that answers your question, and that's a fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking it. Hi, Val. You're listening in from Perth. Today's one of those rare days you can tune in live. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for saying hi. And to anybody else, please do so. Please let me know where you're from. Roz. Hi, Fiona. My question is, how do you deal when my 9-year-old daughter who had to see the pediatrician because of stomach pains after having all of the tests coming back clear? The pediatrician thinks it's psychosocial, and she brought up about your absence when you were in Victoria, and the impact of seeing you cry all the time and the instability. Of course, that brought up heaps of mother guilt that I'm damaging her. Hang on. We'll give her tools to help, but I'm just not sure of how much, or I'm not sure, Roz, what your question is, honey. Maybe just, can you repost that again? Not the whole thing, just what your question is about that, because I'm not sure what your question is. So can you just give me the 2 lines for the question, and then I'll answer it for you. Hi, Rick. Hi, Fiona. Wisdom at its core, clarity, honesty, love, and kindness for yourself is paramount. Well, thank you. Yes, it is. It very much is, Rick. Absolutely. Nice to see you here, Rick. Thank you so much for saying hi. I really appreciate it. Hi, Jackie. Currently from Vietnam. Oh, you lucky thing. I love Vietnam. I haven't went there in, when was it? 2018, and I would so love to go back. It's such a wonderful country, and the food is amazing. Oh, fantastic. Well, hello, Jackie. Thanks for saying hi. And okay, so let's go to the next question. Okay, so I'm just reading through this question. Okay, this one's a little bit complicated, so just bear with me, guys, while I get to the bottom of that. And hang on one second. I'm just gonna. Okay, I might give that one that's really long and complicated. Guys, when you're sending me in a question, just keep it short and sweet, okay? Like a couple of paragraphs max, because it's really hard for me to read it out live when it's really long and it goes on and on. It's just too hard. So just, no, I don't need the whole background, just a couple of paragraphs, and I've got a better job of doing your question justice. Okay, so let me go to the next question here. That one's just a bit too complicated, sorry. Okay. So next question is, hi, Fiona. Sorry, everyone. Okay. Hi, Fiona. I was wondering if you could give me some help with the following. I have an issue with my partner. When something goes wrong, he looks for someone else to blame, which is often me. This week escalated into him calling me and yelling at me and blaming me for something that was nothing to do with me and totally out of my control. I kept calm, and when the phone call was finished, it brought back triggers of the same sort of thing from my ex-husband, causing me anxiety and shaking. Later, he sent me a message which said, I'm sorry for my rant, but I'm just trying to get my point across so this doesn't happen again. This has happened on a number of occasions, but this time was particularly the worst. Although I accept his apology, I don't wish for this to happen again. How can I have a conversation with him about this sort of abuse not being acceptable without causing a fight or confrontation and asking him not to repeat this behavior? Okay. Great question. And a question that I think a lot of people deal with. So generally, if I think number one, you've got to have your own clarity, okay, around what's acceptable and not acceptable to you. Now, I think what happens in a lot of relationships, and it's not just women and men, but it often happens with women and men, or women to men, is people take on the role of being someone else's emotional regulator. And for anybody who's listening, this is so important. You are responsible for regulating your own emotions. You are responsible for regulating your own emotions. It is not your partner's job to regulate your emotions. Okay. And so if you are someone who struggles with that, you must do something about that straight away. That's on you. That's on you to sort out. That's on you to fix. That's on you to get help with. And you absolutely should be getting help with that because it is not okay to verbally vomit all over somebody else. Okay. Now I say that as someone who used to do that myself. I'm not proud of it, but I did. And I absolutely take ownership over that. And I've taken responsibility for the fact that I had I had a bad habit of that. Yes, there was stuff happening in my childhood that contributed to that, blah, blah, blah. Yes, okay. But that doesn't excuse the fact that as an adult, I was not able to regulate my emotions. And I do, and I can now. And the understanding that I teach is amazing for that. All right. But it is absolutely your job. The minute you start justifying yourself, oh, it's because you did this or you did that. No, there's no justification for that. There's no justification for it. Just like there's no justification for judgment, but we do it all the time, right? So if you if you are, or someone is regulating your emotions, you must change that right now. There is no excuse. It's not okay. If you are regulating somebody else's emotions, you must stop doing that. Okay? Because their behavior will not change if you are someone else's emotional regulator. People just feel more and more justified to as I say, to me, it's like verbally vomiting all over somebody. And you'll come back and you go, sorry, I wasn't feeling very well. I couldn't help it. It's like, no. That's not okay. So when you have that clarity, again, it's about, so first of all, it's the clarity that that's not your job, not your role. The second part of this is it's really, really important that when everyone is calm, that you sit down and you have that conversation. I appreciate that you were upset. I can see that, that's a problem. You talk about whatever the issue is. So if you make sure that you're listening to the other person, because most of these things are also a listening issue. A lot of people accelerate because or shut down or whatever because they don't feel heard. I cannot tell you how much of an issue listening is in relationships. People are terrible listeners. That's why I'm about to run a masterclass on that for my relatable students, because this is such an issue. Most relationships break down due to a listening issue because people get so defensive and they're all they're listening to is themselves and blah, blah, blah. So, but make sure the person is calm and you're calm, and sit down when you're in a good feeling. You always have these conversations when you're in a good feeling and say, hey, I want to have a chat to you about that. Now, the person might get uptight and defensive and might walk away, and they might go and just say, all I'm doing is having a conversation. Can you please, I really need you to just listen to what I have to say. Now, they may get uptight, walk away, do whatever, and say, this is something that is important to me, and it's really important that you listen. I'm not attacking you, and I'm not judging you, and I'm not, but we do need to talk about this. And if they say, well, I can't talk about it right now, just say, okay, when are you going to be able to talk about it? And make sure that you come back to that point. And so we need to talk about this, okay? This is really important to me, and it's important that, that I get to express this to you. As my partner, I need to be able to share this with you, okay? But do it when people are in a calm state of mind. Do it when people are in a good feeling, all right? Because that's when people have access to the best thinking available to them. Never try and have these conversations when people are angry, upset. You'll never get anywhere. It achieves nothing. Wait until things are calm. And sometimes it's a good idea for, and this helps a lot with teenagers as well. But have a walk and talk. Sometimes when you're not talking, when you're not looking at someone, it's easier for people to listen to and hear information or have that conversation. But go back and then also when you're having that conversation, just say, look, I know you get upset. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed, like people are allowed to lose their temper. People are allowed to get angry. It's not like you can't, but what's not okay is that you project that onto me. You just got to go take that somewhere else. So I'm just going to let you know when that happens in future, I'm going to walk away or I'm going to put the phone down. It's not because I don't care about you, but because I don't want to be your verbal punching bag anymore. Okay? And this may be a conversation that you need to have again and again and again, right? But not like in a nagging way, but in a measured, reasonable way. Just make sure you're in a good frame of mind. If you have the conversation from a defensive, emotional place, you'll just get that reflected back at you. All right. So I hope that helps. I'm sorry that you're in that situation. I know that that's tricky. And for those of you listening, if you know you're the one who's not great at emotionally regulating yourself, please make a commitment to change that. It is not okay to do that to the people that you love. It's not okay for kids to see that. All right. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person or a terrible person. Some of us just haven't been taught this stuff. Some of us have had stuff happen in the past where where we've got a greater pattern of that. I get it, no judgment, but just take care of it. All right. As a grown adult, there's no excuse for you to be repeating that behavior. All right. There really isn't. There's plenty of options out there in the world to get that sorted. Very much the understanding I teach and relatable. And if you want to know about it, you can book a chat with me and I can take you through how that can help you and explain it. But please get that sorted. Okay. Adam. Hi, Adam. How do I get my wife to come back home when she's on the fence? We share a 2-year-old son. I don't know, Adam. That's a pretty big question. I think I'd need to know what caused the relationship to break down in the first place. I think I need to know how much understanding you have about why the relationship broke down and what you've done to address that and how you're showing up. I can tell you right now, if you're chasing your wife, if you're kind of asking her all the time, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? That's not the right way to go about it. That's just going to push her away and have her feeling like nothing's changed. So if you're doing that, please don't do that. That will not get you your wife back. People who are addressing what's happened and really addressing it, who are listening well, who are very grounded and present, do much better at turning something around, than people who are not. So I would need to know what you've done to work on yourself, to address the issues, and to see things very differently. That would have to be a big part of this. If you haven't done anything, then you've got to ask yourself, what is it that has changed in you that would have your wife feel safe enough? And when I say safe, I mean emotionally safe to want to come back. And if nothing has been addressed, well, there's your answer. Okay, so if that were me, if my husband left or was sitting on the fence and I really wanted him to come back, I would leave no stone unturned within myself so that whenever I caught up with him or saw him, he could see and feel a shift in me, so that shows him my level of commitment to him and our relationship. So if you haven't done that, that would be the place I would be starting at, rather than just hoping she feels better and she'll change her mind. I hope that makes sense. And I'm really sorry that you're going through that, Adam, and I wish you all the very best. It's really tricky, especially when you've got children. I understand, I really do. But do everything you can at your end. And that's a question only you can answer. Have I done everything I could? To me, that's such an important question that everybody needs to answer, so that even if the relationship doesn't work out, you know to the core of your being that you did everything you could. If you cannot answer that question, it will haunt you for years. It will haunt you. So for me, I would want to get that question answered for myself, irrespective of what was happening. Anyway, I really hope that helps, guys. I've got a client actually coming here really soon. She's going to come in. We're going to come and sit outside in the sunshine and have lovely cups of tea, have a session together. So I've got to go and get ready for that. But I hope that this has been helpful. Hey, beautiful Bex, nice to see you here, darling. Thanks for saying hi. If you do have a question that you would like me to answer, you can send an email to hello@fionalukeis.com.au and I will answer it for you. If you would like to have a chat with me and find out more about my Relatable program, or a couple of the other options of things that I do, couples counseling, etc., you're really welcome to book a chat with me over Zoom. You can book a chat with me here. More than happy to. It's a complimentary chat to share those things with you. All right. Wish you all the very best. Wishing you a fantastic weekend. Take care, everyone. And I will see you next Friday. Okay. Ciao.